What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry I've been away for a while. It's busy with life and stuff, you know. Got married a couple months ago, so super stoked about that. Very lucky, fortunate man. So cool beans for me. But yeah, here we go. This video, we're just going to take a look. This is my 2021 WRX. I just picked this up. Replaced the 2019 BRZ that I had. Nothing wrong with the car. I was just looking to expand the family, and I can't do that in the BRZ. But I'm fortunate enough that my wife has the 2020 BRZ, so I can still dabble into that when I want. So that's cool. But anyways, this is the 2021 WRX. I'm just going to go over some of the plans that I have with it and what I've done to it so far. It's got about 1,000 miles on it now. I just got it past the break-in point, so that's really cool. I'll pop the hood real quick. Cobb Accessport is going to go here, and I like the location of that. It stays really stealth, and if you're forgetful and you forget your Cobb Accessport in your car, it's not really noticeable spot, so super cool. But all right, let's go ahead and begin. Pick up the WRX. The WRX. I picked it up just because daily drive commute, low down power. This is really good and snappy. I really liked it. First time test driving one, and I was going to originally go in for STI, but I ended up getting this, so pretty happy. So, all right, so let's go ahead and begin. IAG AOS. It's the V3 Street Series. Does not require a tune because it recirculates everything. If you go with the competition series, you will need a tune because it vents to atmosphere. We have a Cobb Flex Fuel kit. All the fuel lines are plumbed, and then I also have a Cobb fuel pressure sensor that's plumbed up as well. The electronics are just set aside and zip tied up just so that way they're out of the way and stay safe until I can get the car tuned. And pretty much everything I'm showing you now, that's about as much as I can do. I got a Nostrum high pressure fuel pump in the front, have that installed, and then I have the AEM 340 in the back already installed, and those actually weren't very bad at all. I'll give you some tips, but yeah, I can't tune anything because 2021 WRX support isn't available yet from Cobb, so I have all my parts ready, just waiting on that before I can proceed. And in the meantime, that gives me some time to research some more tuners, try to figure out who I want to get tuned through. There's so many good choices with this platform, so it kind of makes it a little hard, but I'm sure we'll find something, and hopefully it'll be the right fit. But all right, let's continue along. So tip for this fuel pressure sensor, the only reason why I installed it was I want to monitor the low pressure fuel pump. You can monitor the high pressure right off the rip with the Cobb Accessport, but I wanted low pressure side as well, so I added that. The tip with this was I used that Loctite 545 thread sealant that they had included with the kit, but I ended up having to redo it 2 times because every time I had a leak, it was very minor, but it kept leaking. So I actually just ended up using a different thread sealant that was more of a paste instead of a liquid, and now I have no leaks. So problem solved, simple fix, but something to note just in case if you're experiencing that issue, just try a different thread sealant, maybe a paste, work better for you. The IAG, that installation was not hard at all. It was just tedious. You know, you have to remove the top mount intercooler and just the awkward way you have to work on it, kind of going over the car and then over by the EGR system. Is just awkward positioning, so it's just very fatiguing, but it wasn't challenging, just time consuming. So just make sure you set yourself up with more than enough time, and I'm sure you'll be able to get that done. Let's see, the axle back, I switched that out already. Right from the get-go before I bought the car, I bought an axle back just because when I test drove this car, I couldn't hear the exhaust inside the cabin, and I like to reference the sound with shifting, just personal preference of mine. They sound good. They're just a minor step up in volume, just enough so you can hear it in the cabin for shifting. You can hear pops and burbles and stuff on downshifting. I feel like those were already present though. You probably just couldn't hear it from the stock system. But here they are. The only weird thing about it was passenger side fitment. These tips would be touching the plastic, and that will definitely melt it. So what I ended up doing was buying one poly 2-position exhaust hanger from Grimspeed, and the uppermost hanger, I switched that one out and was able to adjust it to be able to fit appropriately, and now they match and look the same. So that's kind of cool. If you don't care about that, then who cares? But definitely don't have it touching plastic and melting it. Just prevent the damage. There's no point. But all right, so with that being said, let's see, what else can I give you a tip on? The 340, the AEM 340 fuel pump fits really good. I ended up getting the 50-1215 model. That is the wrong model, so if you can avoid that, get the 50-1220. The 1215 has the hooks on it, and that makes it too big, just a little too wide, so it won't fit into the receiver of the carrier the way that it should, and you won't be able to lock down the basket. But the 1220 doesn't have that, so you can just fit right in. What I did though was I didn't want to I already put the fuel pump in before I realized that it wasn't going to fit properly, so it already had the smell of fuel on there. I didn't feel like trying to go through any type of exchanging process, because usually once you touch fuel with that, it's just you're on your own to resell it on your own. But if you're handy with a Dremel, just chop off those hooks on the side. It wasn't hard to do, and then it fits now. I used one O-ring and the stock spacer. A lot of people say use two O-rings, but for this one, when I tried to use two, the cylinder that the two O-rings sat in, it expanded it too wide, so it wouldn't allow the top of the fuel pump to fit in the carrier. But if I used one, it didn't expand the plastic as much and allowed for a nice snug fit and the basket to snap into place very easily, so I recommend doing that. Haven't had any fuel pressure issues. Car's running beautifully, so no problem there. So that's my tip there for you. Just make sure you get the right one from the get-go, but if you end up getting the wrong one, it's not a deal breaker. You can still make it work with very minimum effort. Okay, so now let's go into what we are going to do once Cobb support is out. Once Cobb support releases for this, we're going to change the air intake to a Grimspeed cold air intake. We're going to delete the top mount intercooler. We're going with the ETS front mount intercooler kit. We're doing the 3-inch core just because that's already more efficient than the top mount, and I'm not going to be tracking the car. I'm literally just going to drive like 25 to 30 minutes a day, not a lot. And that's not even per day, so it's just not really getting a lot of drive time in. COVID especially, but even then I now live a lot closer than I used to my work, so the commute is a lot shorter and easier to do. That's why you can see here I got a zip tie just chilling here. I'm going to redo that once I get the front mount kit and able to remove the stock charge pipe. But anyways, okay, so cold air intake, ETS front mount intercooler kit. That's going to have the BOV optional flange for the HKS, so I'm doing that one. We're going to be mounting up an HKS BOV, vent to atmosphere. It's going to be the SSQ V4. I know it's not good for MAF, but we're not staying MAF. We're going to go speed density with this, so that's what the tune's going to be, so it'll be okay. It's still not as good. It's going to be more wear on the turbine of the turbo, but that's okay for my application. I just, I want to run one. I haven't run an HKS in a long time, so it's just for me nostalgia. I'd like to do it again, so that's the only purpose. Otherwise, I highly recommend just stay MAF based, or just get a different bypass valve if you're looking for maybe a different sound signature. For sure, once you do a cold air intake, which you don't even really need to do, this is pretty efficient, and I think it goes up to like 350, even 400 maybe horsepower, so it's not really a necessity. But if you change this out to an aftermarket one that's boxed, you'll most certainly have more noise in the cabin, and you'll actually be able to hear the bypass valve in a completely different way. So if you're on the fence of maybe you want a BOV, but you know that it's not great for the car, you don't want to go speed density, then look into replacing that and then getting a tune first and seeing how that sounds, because you might just completely change your mind. Then we're going to do a Perrin turbo inlet tube with an IAG recirc plug because of the blow-off valve. But we're going that route just because when I was working under there for coolant lines for the AOS, I just didn't like the overall feel of the stock turbo inlet housing. Again, that's personal preference. Obviously, Subaru has many more years established doing these. This is not what I do for a living, but I just overall like the quality of the Perrin one and I'm going to be down there already, so might as well just switch it out. We're going to do a 3-port boost controller from Grimspeed. Cobb is just as good. There's a lot of good brands. Cobb or Grimspeed just come highly recommended. For the ETS, the front mount intercooler kit, there's a Mr. gasket. I'll put it in my description of the video, but there's a gasket that you can get that's better than the paper gasket. It's like 20 bucks. Just get that. It'll help prevent any leaks because it uses like a rubber on the inner part of it, and it'll just seal way better and last longer than a paper gasket. So that way you don't have to go chasing down leaks. But let's see, so we're going to do an NVIDIA catted J-pipe downpipe combo. I guess that's what they are for the WRX. But not looking forward to the studs. I hear that it's a pain, but I got some really good tips online from forum research, and a lot of people suggest brake fluid, and I'll give that a try. I guess a lot of Toyota techs do that because they've been using the self-locking nuts for a long time, so I guess that's what they do, so I will try it, and I'll also have a torch as a backup just in case. And then we're going to run that J-pipe combination. We're going to connect it to a ETS extreme catback system, and that's going to be all non-resonated, just the cat and the J-pipe, so it should have a very nice volume increase, something that I'm used to. Not that there's anything wrong with staying a little bit quieter, that's fine. I just like it loud, I like to hear it. So but I think that's everything that I can think of, so hopefully everything goes smoothly, you know. All of this being said, with the modifications, isn't deliberate as far as power gains. Clearly they're going to come with switching to flex fuel, and a couple of my choices were just personal preferences, but I'll give you a description as to why, in case anyone's new to this or considering a similar setup. And maybe, you know, the big question is why are you running this, why are you running that? Let's start with the Nostrum fuel pump. I wanted that because I heard that there were issues going beyond E60, and personally for me, I live in Michigan. I don't want to sit at the pump, do one transaction, switch to the other, and blend it. I'd rather just go full E85 or mix it however I want. Like maybe I'm running low on E85 and I want to cycle through some 93 premium just for lubrication purposes, then I can just do that. I don't have to worry about blending. So it's just a convenience thing. The HKS blow-off valve, again, nostalgia. It's not actually the best for the car. Running vent to atmosphere, it adds more wear to the turbine of your turbo, which could affect the life of it, especially if there's shaft play already. Then you're gonna, you know, it's gonna wear it out a lot faster. I'm just choosing that because of nostalgia. Again, I just like hearing the noise and miss having a setup like that when I was younger, so I'm just going to do it again. But I'll be tuned with speed density, so don't really have to worry about running rich. And again, some people run BOVs on there when it's not recommended to because it's math based. You will have a split second of running a little rich, but you know, if you do your maintenance, take care of your car, pay attention to how it runs, change the plugs when you need to, all that good jazz, oil, keep up with your regular maintenance. And I've seen a lot of people run them just fine, but I will be tuning speed density just to help mitigate that. Full flex fuel E85. Flex fuel in itself, I'm running that for knock mitigation. And then the front mount intercooler kit, I want to lower down the charge temps. You can get just a good top mount intercooler kit if you want. You don't have to go full blown front mount intercooler, but I just chose that because I got a really good deal on it. Pricing is very similar from when I was purchasing, so I figured 3-inch core, why not? It's not the biggest. I think ETS offers up to 4 inches, but I just didn't see the need for myself just because of my personal routine and what I have planned with the car as far as how I'm going to drive it. It just wasn't necessary to go that big. So, but again, that's charge temps, so knock mitigation as well as detonation mitigation. So I'm going to try to do that just as additional measures for trying to increase reliability of the car. Not that it's not reliable on its own. You know, some people will say, you know, just stick with your warranty, but you know, it's just what I like to do. So do what you're going to do, but if you are, try to do research, talk to your tuner, and build and drive it accordingly to what you got going on. Those are my biggest words of advice. So we'll see how it goes. I hear flex fuel on these cars is amazing. I personally just want the knock mitigation, so whatever power comes. I don't really care. I actually like how it drives stock, to be quite honest. I don't mind it at all. Hear that adding a front mount intercooler could add some turbo lag, and to be honest with you, I'm not completely against it, because from what I hear, torque down low is what kills the rods in this car, not necessarily horsepower, but the torque. So, you know, that can be actually kind of beneficial in a way if you think about it, but we'll see. It all comes down to tuners too. I know that they can time the torque to be a little bit later, come in a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. If you guys have any recommendations on tuners, based on experience at least, I know that with my very limited research so far, you know, Fat Body, M-Tuned, Ambot, those are the top guys that keep coming up. JR Tuned, sure I'm missing a bunch. I actually had a guy, Clint, reach out to me on Facebook, so I'm going to chat with him soon. But yeah, a lot of tuners. That's actually kind of, I guess it's a good problem to have versus a very limited amount. So count my blessings where you can, but it makes it hard though to choose, you know. If you guys have any experience with any of those guys, and you know, maybe you already put quite a few miles on your car, drop a comment, let me know how it's running for you. That was my biggest thing, you know, when you get a new tune and new parts on a car, you have that, like, what do you call that, like the honeymoon phase, you know what I mean, where just everything's great, everything's amazing, but then you really don't hear about like 1,000 miles down the road, 5K miles down the road, 10 plus, you know, like, is your car still on the road? You know, that's kind of what I'm curious on. I know a lot has to do with like how you're taking care of your car and then your driving habits, but you know, set that aside. You know, how's it running? You know, considering that you're driving it responsibly, getting on it when it's okay to, and then taking it easy when you need to take it easy. I'm just curious on that aspect. So again, drop a comment if you have any experience with that. Let me know how it's going for you. Who do you recommend? You know, what to look out for, that type of thing. Yeah, I think that's it. So far, otherwise, everything's going great. Just waiting on Cobb support and then get all this stuff installed. No more tips that I can think of. I'll let you know about the brake fluid stuff when it comes time for me to change my J-pipe. And I think that about wraps it up. Enough mumbling. Thank you guys so much for your continued support with this channel. So sorry that I haven't been posting as much as I normally do. I just haven't really been having a lot of stuff going on where I felt like it was post-worthy. You know, it's just doing stuff around the house and, you know, just being with family. And, you know, yeah, some fun, interesting stuff happens, but try to keep that private because, you know, don't want to be on the internet all the time. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you have any questions specifically about any of the stuff that I've done or am going to do to the car, please feel free to let me know. Again, overall, this is hopefully just to make the car last, just trying to pick up on its already known weaknesses and make it just a little bit better. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, guys, you guys take care, and I'll catch you on the next video.